right? So now you're going to be a spender and you need to be able to spend with confidence. How are you going to do that unless you have a plan? And that's literally the blueprint to your retirement.
And welcome into Protect and Grow Chicagoland Retirement with Chicagoland's certified financial planning professional, Tim Stearns, CFP, guiding us along, keeping us focused on our financial future, keeping us informed on our money, our finance, our investments, and formulating that Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint for proactive savers and investors throughout the Chicagoland area. Tim, you want people to retire ready. That is the theme of the program today. Welcome back into another great edition of Protect and Grow.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we do want people to retire ready. You and I have talked about this so many times, but you only really get one shot at an ideal retirement. So you need to make it count. I always say, carpenters say measure twice, cut once to get it right. You might want to measure about 20 times if you're going into retirement to get it right. And so there's a lot of nuances, a lot of minutia that goes into it. What we're seeing a lot of is people out there, even do-it-yourselfers. I mean, they're basically money managers, but or they're working with a big box company and they're money managers. They're not seeing the full landscape of, taxes, Social Security, Medicare, with IRMA and all that, portfolio risk versus, return and all this good stuff. And I just think that there's a lot to be missed. And if you miss it, you might end up paying for it. And you might not know it for a little bit, but you will know it when you run out of money or you get to the point where you're saying, oh, we can't do this, that, and the other thing because we spent too much or you can flip that around. Like my grandmother, she saved all of her money and, we got to inherit it. She didn't really enjoy her retirement. So there's a fine line there.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and it is a balancing act when you've got a finite amount of money and unknown amount of time to make it last. And that's why you help your clients by designing that Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, kind of keeping them between the ditches, so to speak,
Yep.
on
Yep.
spending too much and enjoying life. We want to do a little bit of enjoyment, but we don't want to do so much that we run ourselves to being broke by the time we still have some life left. So again, formulating that plan, I think, so important. And then for some, Tim, they've probably got the money and the assets. They just want to know that they've got a plan they can depend on and take it off their mind, not have to worry about it so much. And either way, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like that Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, pick up the phone and give TJ Stearns Inc. a call, 800-640-2256, 800-640-2256. And again, the theme, retire ready. Tim, over the last 150 years, retirement has evolved significantly in America. In 1875, American Express offered America's first employer-provided retirement plan. In 1880, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad introduced the first retirement plan that was financed jointly by contributions from them as the employer and from its workers. 1935, of course, Social Security was introduced.
Yep.
1978, ERISA and the first 401k was added to the tax code. Here we are in 2025. So 150 years later, and we still haven't figured out how to be confident in retirement, Tim.
Right. And that comes with having a plan, and making sure that you know where your blind spots are and you're covering those.
Yeah, all of those things I mentioned, those are the tools that you talk about. And you always talk about the fact that tools are important, but the plan is what gives us the confidence and the vision.
Exactly. And if you don't have those things, in lockstep, ducks in a row, whatever analogy you want to use, then, good luck because, we always talk about this in class, and that's, if I came to your house and I said, "Hey, I'd like to redo your kitchen," what would you want? Well, I'd want some, a plan, cost, maybe some references. Okay, great. Well, no, we're just going to wing it. Would you sign up? And all the class laughs, but that is what people are doing for retirement. And I think, it's a blueprint to your retirement is a protect and grow, plan that we do for people.
Well, again, if you'd like to get that put together, just pick up the phone and give TJ Stearns Inc. and Tim Stearns CFP a call. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. So, Tim, speaking of those tools, the 401k, the IRAs, the Social Security haven't been around forever, but they are around now. These are the main tools that we have for planning and preparing for retirement. But there are different phases of our financial life, and the tools that are available and the tools that are useful and should be utilized change and evolve over those phases, as does our financial need, what we need those tools to do for us.
Well, the things that we talk about is showing people the different, timeline. You look at accumulation where, you're just, putting money away as much as you can. You might take a little more risk in your portfolio, but at the end of the day, if you take a loss, it's not the end of the world because you're younger. As they start get towards what we call the red zone, those years leading up to retirement and the first years of retirement, that's the most important time, and that will set the tone. And we show people an example of Bill and Jill, their brother and sister, and one of them almost runs out of money just based on the timing. And that's a phenomenon that we've seen called sequence of returns risk. And most people don't even know what that is. And the bottom line is, if you have, a crystal ball and you can tell when a bull market's about to happen, great time to retire. If you don't have that crystal ball, then right now is a great time to plan.
Well, and nobody does, Tim, have an accurate crystal ball anyway, and that's why that phase, that particular time in our life, aptly named the preservation phase. Why is that so important?
Well, because 15% of society nowadays has a pension. And so you're looking at whatever you retire with, the only growth you're going to have in that portfolio is through the stock market, which, we've had about almost a 14-year bull market, with the one hiccup in 2022, but the market came back the next year, thankfully. So you need to focus on the fact that, having a plan makes it so that you don't run out of money, when there are lean times in the market.
Few good things to think about if you are in that preservation phase, 55 to 65, or maybe the 5 to 10 years before or and after retirement. And that was a or and, yes, either one, before or and after retirement. You should be thinking about more moderately focused returns on a steady returns with less volatility. And Tim, reducing or eliminating debt this during this period, shifting from higher work capacity to higher financial capacity, right? That their capital is growing to replace setting the alarm and going to work and trading their time, knowledge, or skill for money.
Right. So, I mean, we have a client that has a pension. She said, what the best thing about my pension is, I can spend my money every month, and the next month they fill it back up. I will never know that feeling, and I think most of our listeners don't know that feeling.
Only
So that's why,
15%, you said. That's a
yeah,
low number, right?
but that's a very low number, and most of those people are government workers of some sort. So, the 85% of us need to figure this out and make it count.
All right. Well, Tim, three phases we've gone through: two, the growth, the income, the accumulation phase, the preservation phase, and then we are now in retirement. And there's a name for this phase of our financial lives.
Right. In your distribution phase, that's the most important one, right? The way, we use a lot of analogies in here that are sports minded, that's the fourth quarter, and the most important time for you to make sure your money lasts. And again, make sure that you don't not enjoy your retirement. So distribution is, what is an effective distribution rate? Back in the 1990s, it was 4% rule. Nowadays, we're saying more around the 2 to 2.5%. So, what do I need to do to get myself to having guaranteed income? You need to look at different vehicles that are going to do that so that in the lean times, and I'm going to keep saying lean times because I feel like our listeners don't remember the years that the market did absolutely nothing or lost. Like in the 2000 to 2010, the lost decade, that can really be detrimental to your retirement. So how do we not do that, and not repeat history is by having this plan.
Yeah, got to have that plan in place. And again, it is the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint. And if you'd like to get that put together, no cost, no obligation, pick up the phone, give Tim Stearns a call. He will craft, design, and help you implement the plan to help you move and transition successfully through all phases of your financial life. That is what that blueprint is all about. 800 640 2256. That's 800 640 2256. 800 640 2256. I'm going to circle back to your sports analogy, though, Tim. You said this is like the fourth quarter or the second half of the game, right? But in sports, the first half and the second half, yes, they're different, but at least they have the same rules. You come out after halftime and the same rules apply to the game. Whereas in our financial lives, after halftime, after retirement, it is a completely different set of rules almost. It's like we're playing a whole new game we've got to relearn the rules of.
Well, Peter, I think you're talking about becoming a spender from being a saver your entire life. Think about that. That is, what, 75% of your life, you were a saver, whether you were a little kid mowing lawns and your
At least to
dad,
that point, yeah.
yeah, right? So now you're going to be a spender and you need to be able to spend with confidence. How are you going to do that unless you have a plan? And that's literally the blueprint to your retirement. So if you're out there and you're wondering, do I have a plan that's worth a darn, or should I get one? The answer is yes. And if you want us to take a look at what you currently have as a plan, we're happy to do that as well. But coming up from scratch, it sounds like a daunting task, but this is what we do with people. We have a tried and true process. We analyze exactly everything. We look at the full landscape. We're not just money managers. We do that really well, but I mean the other part that we do well is planning, and that's why I'm a certified financial planning, practitioner. And that's very important to me that people understand that there's a difference between us and a money manager.
And you also want to understand the difference between the tools that you have available, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, 401ks, IRAs, and having a true plan, that Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, a plan that brings all of those pieces and all of those tools together to show you when and how and where each one is going to be beneficial and useful and utilized in your financial progress. And if you'd like to get that put together, pick up the phone, give Tim Stearns, CFP, a call, 800 640 2256. That's 800 640 2256. Tim, this sounds like overly simplified, I think, when I say it, but understanding the retirement planning process, knowing where you are in your current financial progress and your financial well being, determining where you are going or want to go and how to get there, and then following the plan. It sounds that simple, but most people don't have the plan to refer to. All three of those steps sort of reference back to having a plan, and that is absent. And I think that's why so many people have doubt and worry and concern about their financial future.
Right. And many people don't feel like they want to, open up that Pandora's box, right? Where they're figuring, oh my gosh, what does it all take,
Why are we so hesitant about that, Tim?
Well, I think people are scared of the unknown, and I think, and we have used this analogy ad nauseum, but it's like going to get a physical, and figuring out where you are health wise, and then also making sure that you take care of yourself, and that's scary. But once you leave that doctor, you feel pretty good about yourself, that you have a plan. Well, this is going to be a plan for your financial well-being. And then we do checkups year to year to make sure that we're on task and that we're continuing the path that we chose, not getting off that path.
And once again, we are talking about Retire Ready. It is a report, a resource that is available if you would like the Retire Ready guide. Tim Stearns has that available for you. You can email a copy of that to you. Just pick up the phone, give a call, 800 640 2256, 800 640 2256. It includes a summary of all the information that we've talked about so far and so much more, ladies and gentlemen, packed full of information on how to be ready for retirement. Retire Ready is the goal. The goals for retirement, Tim, also covered in this guide here to help maintain a comfortable or required lifestyle, ensure self-sufficiency in retirement, provide for emergencies and unplanned expenditures, and then real retirement planning, Tim, brings together a bunch of things. You mentioned investment management and the work that you and your team do in helping people manage investments. That's important, but retirement planning encompasses so much more. Income planning, healthcare planning, legacy planning, all of these things need to be brought together to truly have that confidence in maintaining our desired and required lifestyle.
Right. I mean, there's so much more to it than just, my dollars. I mean, to this day, my mom is 95 years old. We've never talked about what my proper spend down should be or what amount I should be taking out. But I do know this, my mom had a plan when they went into retirement. She's 95 years old now, and she's in no shape or form going to run out of money, thank God. But they had a plan, and that was that they had two pensions. My wife and I don't have that luxury, so we need to make sure that we actually take the money and figure out how we're going to, you know, mold and adapt to what's going on. One of the things that people need to understand is that an annuity can be a very powerful tool in making sure that we have guaranteed income. I don't have a pension, so this is what I chose. And I'll turn on the money down the way there, and I'll have guaranteed income. Right now with interest rates being as high as they are, it's the best time to do that. And if you're looking for guaranteed income, give us a call because the rates are so much better than what I bought in 2021. That it's light days away from what I did. So it's a great opportunity for us as consumers.
Again, if you would like to take a look at this, and again, Wall Street for the last generation, for the last 30 years, has followed this rule of thumb, the 4% rule. And for 20 years, for 2 decades, that was called into question, saying too high, that's dangerous. You can't take 4%. Lots of articles from Forbes and the Wall Street Journal and the American College of Retirement Income Planning said that it was dangerous to take 4%. It should be closer to 2 or even less than 2% of a cash flow. And today, you can contractually guarantee yourself a even higher cash flow, maybe 4, 5, 6% cash flow.
Right.
You've got to see what these rates mean, because going from a 4% cash flow to a 6% cash flow, Tim, that's not 2% more money. That is 50% more income year
Right.
in, year out through the decades of retirement. The next little section in this retire ready guide, the 3 most common sources of income in retirement: pensions, Social Security, and personal savings. And when only 15% of Americans have that pension, doesn't that put so much more stress on the personal savings that we've got to do more with less?
Well, used to have the stool, right? The retirement stool that was 3 legs and it had uh pension, Social Security, and our savings. And nowadays, 85% of us have just our savings and our Social Security. And when you look at Social Security not being that great, as far as it's only supposed to take out 40% of your income, in retirement, then we need to make sure that we're making our savings. So why not buy an annuity and put some of that money in there that's going to do a lot more heavy lifting than your portfolio would need to by hitting these great, highs that we're hoping for by playing the hottest stock, the Nvidia, which has been really bumps and bruises lately, these different, high flyer stocks that
Mhm.
were in 2022 were the dogs of the day, right? And that, and now they're the quote unquote magnificent seven. So, easy come, easy go. You don't want those types of things in your retirement.
Yeah, well, do you want to literally bet your lifestyle on the stock market continuing to be high flying and riding high in perpetuity, predictably year after year,
Right.
which just doesn't happen? Or do you want to formulate the plan, have some contractual guarantees in there, and know that your income, regardless of the direction of the market, is going to be dependable, durable, predictable, is going to be consistently there for you? That's what setting up that retirement income plan, that portion of the Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint, is all about. That's the protect portion, right? Protecting your income, protecting your lifestyle, which we are dependent on during our working career, and retirement still dependent on income. That is the critical key, not to be overlooked. So again, to get that Protect and Grow written retirement income plan, to be retirement ready, pick up the phone and give Tim Stern CFP a call, 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Next section in the guide, Tim, understanding the potential risks to your retirement. Number one, the risk that you may outlive your money. And exactly what we were just talking about. Retirement income planning is what addresses this number one risk in retirement.
Well, we all want to be independent, and the fastest way to not be independent is not having a plan, spending too much money. And then next thing you know, you're asking, loved ones, friends, family, God help you, the government to step up to the plate. You know how you could solve all that problem by actually doing a written income plan that, shores up the ends, shows you what your blind spots are, places you should work on things, and then go from there. And that's so important.
I remember, Tim, there used to be a pretty famous radio show where if you turned 100, you could call in and they would celebrate that you have turned 100 years old. And they had to stop doing that because they had so many people
Right.
starting to call over the years. In 2020, Tim, 90,000 Americans were centurions, were over the age of 100. That's expected to grow to 130,000 by 2030. We've got a plan for longevity, and that just increases this number one risk of outliving our money and our assets if we don't have a specific plan, Tim.
Right. People are living longer and longer. When we do a plan for people, at bare minimum, we'll do 30 years. And you have a 1 out of 2 chance that one of you will live to be, 95 years old. That becomes pretty relevant, that people are living longer and longer. So we need to make that dollar stretch. And the only way I know how to do that, that's guaranteed, are annuities with lifetime income for the spouse and for both spouses. And it's so important to have stuff like that.
Risk number two, the national debt. Now, this is not maybe something that I expected to see here in the six top risks of retirement, but everything that goes in behind this, Tim, really does emphasize why we need to be paying attention to this, maybe more attention than they're paying up in Washington to this. The national debt accumulation has tripled in the last 15 years, currently closing in on $37 trillion dollars. And to address and reduce the national debt, there's a couple things that they could do. Higher revenue, which means taxes, or cuts on spending and expenditures, which means we all have less there for us in those important systems and entitlements of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, Tim.
Well, yeah. How do you get out of when you have a deficit like that? You either tax more or cut down on costs. I think everyone out there knows what they're going to do. They'll tax us away. So that's another thing that we're, right now with the current tax bill, and hopefully it's not going to sunset or go away. We're talking to our clients about Roth conversions, which will play into things like IRMA and that type of stuff when you are in retirement. So, speaking of looking at the full gamut, that would be part of that too. Is looking at when and if you can do conversions that are not going to be adverse to you.
Now, that all goes into number three, Tim, specifically the risk to Social Security. And why we are so worried about that is that the Social Security Trust Fund Administration has, Tim, as long as I can remember, said that the trust fund was running dry and going to be depleted, but that keeps getting sooner and sooner, and the projected reduction that they are facing keeps getting more and more significant. Do people really have a grasp? Are people concerned about this and working it into their plans?
I do. I don't think so. I don't think most people are there. The realists are looking at it being, maybe a portion of their retirement, but most of our clients are looking at them bringing the brunt of the money to the forefront. Okay. So you're looking at people who are, realizing that Social Security, it'd be nice if they have it, but it's not going to be all that to them. Then you have other people who are absolutely relying on it. And, they're not they're not understanding, or they're putting their heads in the sand, so to speak, so that they don't see the true terrible money management that we've seen in this. The longer they wait to fix this, the less options we're going to have. And I really wonder what that will look like finally when they finally do address it.
And the reality is, Tim, I mean, Social Security, it feels like it's been around for a long time, and it has 90 years. It was incepted in 1935, but it's
Yep.
still a system that is being evaluated and augmented to help its feasibility. In 1935, full retirement age was 65. Well, it wasn't but 8 years later that they made it a full year later. So 1943, if you were born in 1943, your full retirement age was changed to 66. And then for the next 17 years, all the way up through 1960, they graduated it so that now full retirement age is 1967. But 1960 to 19 to today, Tim, those people haven't even reached that full retirement age yet. For 67-year-olds, we've still got a couple years. So
Right.
it's still kind of an experiment that is being manipulated to figure out what is going to work. And obviously, what we've been doing hasn't proven that it's going to maintain being successful. And that's why they're having to reevaluate this again on an ongoing basis.
It reminds me of like what they've done with Irma. It's almost like means testing. And I wonder if they'll be doing that with us. With Social Security saying, well, Peter, you weren't much of a saver, so we'll give you, some of my money because I was a good saver. It'll be means tested just like they've done with Irma. And the one thing I talk about all the time at my workshops is, they always talk about how tax bills never die. They just kind of come back as something else. And they say, oh, don't worry, this is only going to hit the billionaires and the movie stars and that type of thing. And then the next thing you know, it filters down to the middle class. And I
Mhm.
see that happening where they're going to be taxing us, maybe 100% of our Social Security.
And they get folded into some omnibus bill where they've got
Yeah,
to pass it to know what's in it, and then all of a
right.
sudden, surprise, there was the
Yeah.
tax increase. Yeah, right. Well, Tim, the guide Retire Ready, it is a comprehensive guide. I mean, we're talking pages and sections of great information. 30 pages, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like a copy of this guide, get in touch with Tim Stern, CFP. He's got it available. He can email the digital copy out to you. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. I'm sure we'll be talking about this in the weeks and months to come, Tim, because it's a fantastic resource. Covers so much information. But more importantly, all of the information that this guide covers, you actually put into practice and execution. You apply it, you put it into application into an individual situation when they come in for that complimentary review, that retirement planning strategy session, and to design that protect and grow written retirement blueprint. That's where the rubber meets the road, where people can really have confidence that they have a plan put together with their future and their best interest in mind.
Peter, we don't leave any stone unturned. We're not just money managers. You got to look at the full landscape, and we're very good at doing that.
Well, we always appreciate the time with Tim Stern, CFP. It always flies by. So does life. Before you know it, tomorrow and next year we'll be here. Let's get a plan now. That's the important thing. Go ahead and take the first step. No cost, no obligation. Get your complimentary Protect and Grow written retirement blueprint put together. 800-640-2256. That's 800-640-2256. Or you can go online, tjstearns.com. tjstearns.com. Tim, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Peter. Have a good one.
Tune into Chicagoland certified financial planner Tim Stern's full radio program and visit tjstearns.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Chicagoland Retirement. Be sure to subscribe.
Investment advisory services offered through Cornerstone Securities, LLC. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature, not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs.